What's up? This is Jared Gray with my co-host, the Dynasty Chef Steve, on Week 4 Studs and Duds, the IDP 411. Thank you for joining us. We appreciate all of you. Jordan is no longer with the IDP 411 podcast, but he's also he's with us with the IDP Army. He's with the IDP Army Livecast, and he's also doing the Defense Matters on our YouTube as well. So make sure you continue to follow Jordan. He will join us every week in general. So, Steve, how you doing?
I'm doing great. How you doing this morning?
I'm good, man. It's a good week. We decided to go a day later just because, obviously we had two big games. You knew there were going to be some good matchups last night. Obviously I wouldn't be able to talk about Frank Clark, and Frank Clark had a great game last night. So, with that being said,
let's get into it.
I guess we'll get right to it. Let's go defensive lineman first. Myles Garrett, obviously our MVP of the week for the defensive lineman. He had 2 solos, an assist, 2 tackles for loss, 2 sacks, and 2 quarterback hits. How many points was that with our IDP 1, 2, 3 scoring?
23 points.
23 points. Real solid day. Kind of went after it. You can't gripe about that. A forced fumble. This 3 weeks in a row, he's had a strip sack. So, great matchup for him. He's opposite of Tyron Smith. So, you knew Alden Smith kind of had a little rougher matchup this week because, let's be real, it's been kind of hard to get to Baker. When he's been in sack, it's been a coverage sack. So, we kind of expected Alden Smith in the same aspect to be a dud this week. I had to play him because you got to play him. He was inches from getting Odell Beckham 15 yards deep on the last play for Cleveland, which ended up being a 50-yard touchdown. So,
yep,
that sealed the fates.
You're right.
One guy.
Odell.
Say again.
But you were right about playing Odell.
Oh yeah, and I've been on. It was too good of a matchup. You had to play Odell Beckham. The matchup was too juicy. Just like I said, CeeDee Lamb's a juicy matchup against Cleveland because they allow somebody to get behind them, and it's 90% been the slot guy. So you knew somebody was going to get shut down, either Gallup or Amari Cooper. It wasn't Amari Cooper. That dude balled out, and Gallup kind of didn't have a great game. Denzel Ward played pretty well overall. And honestly, Dak should have thrown 4 interceptions right across the middle. So that was a tough game for him. Let's go to number 2, Eric Armstead. We talked about him being a good play this week. He finally got me on the stat line. Him and Hyder. Hyder's been pretty consistent last couple of weeks. We got 4 solos, an assist, a tackle for loss, 1.5 tackles for loss, a sack, and 6 quarterback hits by Eric Armstead. He could have had a very big stat line if those quarterback hits would have turned into sacks. So that's pretty crazy. What was his IDP 1, 2, 3 scoring?
20 points.
That ain't nothing to shake your head at right there. That's a good play. Like we said, that Eagle, even though the Eagles won, you kind of expected we didn't know who their quarterback was going to be. Everybody was talking about Nick Mullins, but Nick Mullins isn't he's not Jimmy Garoppolo.
No.
And then neither is CJ Beathard.
People complain about Garoppolo all the time, but he is light years above
consistent. Yeah, he's baby Brady, right? That's what he got for a long time. He's going to be the next Tom Brady, and they seem to be doing just fine without him with Cam Newton, even though they had a rough game last night without Cam Newton. Let's go with a new face to the game, Morgan Fox and Quentin Jefferson. Both guys, one with the Rams, one with the Buffalo. So we got Morgan Fox had 4 solos. Quentin Jefferson had 1 solo. Both had a tackle for loss. Both had a sack. Both had quarterback hits, and both had forced fumbles. Quentin Jefferson had a fumble recovery, which kind of helped him bring up his point value, obviously. I would say that's the biggest reason why Quentin Jefferson's on this is the fumble recovery and forced fumble and fumble recovery because he only had one play really. So, but he's on the list because of it. Frank Clark last night, like we talked about, we'd done our show yesterday, we wouldn't have been able to talk to him. 4 solos, a tackle for loss, a sack, 3 quarterback hits. Was very disruptive last night. Honestly, it could have been much better than that. I actually thought he had more tackles for loss than he had. I thought he had 2 or 3, and I kind of hope it's not that way because if he has another tackle for loss or 2, I'm probably losing a game in the stat corrections. So, Emmanuel Ogbah. I really thought Emmanuel Ogbah would be much better than he has been the last, since he's been in the league. He was kind of a miss. He hadn't played that great in the pros. And then he's kind of found his niche in Miami. We got 3 solos, 2 assists, 2 tackles for loss, a sack, 2 quarterback hits. It was a pretty solid day for him. So I'm going to give you one guy that you talked about prior to getting on, Yetur Gross-Matos. He's my number 17 or 16 IDP 4-1 rookie. He was 3 solos, a sack, 1 quarterback hit, and 1 forced fumble. So how do you feel about him? I know you were talking prior to we getting on. So,
all right, what was it?
Yetur Gross-Matos. How do you?
Yeah, he had 15 points.
That's pretty solid.
Yep, and he had he came in for only 23 snaps.
He may do. That's for sure. I mean, he got, of those 23 snaps, 3 of them he turned into, tackles and sacks. So, and a forced fumble. He might get some more play. Now that we're seeing it, we're talking about it prior to. We could definitely see him get a little more play. Right now, he's a dynasty stash. He's been that way. We really feel like he could end up growing up and having a big year. Let's get to the big dogs, some linebackers, which honestly, the top of the stack right now of the totem pole is Zadarius Smith. That dude had a crazy week. 6 solos, 2 assists, 4 tackles for loss, 3 sacks, 5 quarterback hits, with a total of 45 points, I believe you said, for IDP 123 scoring, which is ridiculous.
Yep, he blew up.
Yeah, big game from him.
I mean, he's been completely studly all season so far.
Yeah, he's been real consistent. He was a great play last year. Wasn't he sack leader last year? So, or one of the sack leaders last year. Obviously, Shaq Barrett was sack leader, but he was real high up on the list last year. If you just pull up the linebackers and the sacks last year, it was crazy. So, who else was we talking about? Okay, let's get to Josie Jewell on Thursday night. I think that he's going to be a play the rest of the year. So if you want to talk about my number 1 guy, you're going to – now in deep leagues, he's probably already taken. But I know that I picked him up in a pretty deep league in general. I'm in a 12-person league. I'm in a 16-person league, and he wasn't picked up. So he had 8 solos, 2 assists, 2.5 tackles for loss, 2 sacks, 2 quarterback hits, and a pass defended. That dude went nuclear Thursday night and just played really great. He's got to be a guy you're grabbing every week. He's definitely a good play, especially with the injuries that they've had. The release of Todd Davis. AJ Johnson's playing pretty decent, but Josie Jewell's playing really good. And that was a great matchup for them. The Jets are trash. I could see 3 coaches get fired this week, to be honest with you. Adam Gase should be gone for good. I know they were already talking about releasing him last week. And then I honestly think Dan Quinn's gone. That dude's had an abysmal record since the Super Bowl.
I know. It's like they lost that Super Bowl game, and he's just lost the ability to win.
Yep. Next we got a guy who's DL eligible, and he should be a defensive lineman, but he's outside linebacker. In the same game, Bradley Chubb, 3 solos, 2 assists, 2.5 tackles for loss, 2.5 sacks, 5 quarterback hits. He had a great game. His IDP 1-2-3 scoring was pretty high as well.
Yeah, 32 points.
32 points. I mean, that's what we're expecting out of Bradley Chubb all season long. What we expect to see out of him. So we'll see what happens for sure.
Oh yeah, he's a beast. And I'm glad to see that he was doing well out there. And yeah, I mean, that's the first good game he's had all season too.
Yeah, it's really the game that we've been waiting for him. And in general, most people probably didn't play him because he hasn't had a good game yet.
Right.
But if that's what we expect, especially with his counterpart being hurt.
Now, do you think it's because they played the Jets?
Like I said, the Jets is just a good play. I mean, if I have a defensive player going against the Jets, I'm playing it because they're just not that good. And they need a new coach. They need to do everything because honestly, they've got enough talent. Le'Veon Bell's solid. They need another top receiver. They should have never got rid of Robbie Anderson. But all right, top 5 of the list. Matthew Judon. Again, a guy who's DL eligible, not in sleeper, who's a guy we could have mentioned a little bit ago. 2 solos, 2 assists, 2 tackles for loss, 2 sacks, 5 quarterback hits, and a pass defended, which is kind of nice to see out of him. He's not a guy that does that a ton.
Here's a guy that did really well last season and who's been underperforming this season and finally had
100%. Now, again, I will go with the matchup on that one, dude. Washington just hasn't been very good. And honestly, that entire division isn't good. They might be the worst division in football. So Dallas isn't – they just get overhyped. Let's be real here. They were down 19, 23, and 20 in 3 games this year. And somehow are 2-2. So there's that. Let's go with Roquan Smith, who has been kind of lackluster. He's been getting some solos, but he hasn't had a big game. Yesterday, 11 solos, 2 assists, 3.5 tackles for loss. This is what I expect out of Roquan Smith every game. And to do it at Indianapolis is probably the biggest surprise for me. The Colts have been really good. And it was a good game. I mean, the Colts didn't score but 19 points, I think. So Roquan had a really good game. On the opposite side, Darius Leonard is the dud in that. I mean, he didn't do anything. I mean, yeah, I think he had 1 tackle. I don't know if he got hurt or what. But it's kind of disgusting. Steve, make sure that you send Mark an invite for us, and we'll bring him in here whenever we're ready. And we'll go from there. We have a special guest from Statement of Games. The CEO, Mark, will be joining us today, just so you guys are ready for that. While moving on, we'll get KJ Wright, like I talked about, big game, 6 solos, 2 assists, 1 tackle for loss, and 3 passes defended, as well as a forced fumble. KJ Wright, Bobby Wagner both had great games, and honestly, they should. That was a good matchup. Miami, isn't lighting it up, but they've been pretty good overall. But they've been good tackle teams. You know what I mean? If you have a linebacker, they've been very strong against Miami overall. So you've got to play both Bobby Wagner, who had 10 solos, 2 assists, and a pass defended. That's a lot of game out of 2 linebackers. So, and that's what I expect out of both of them. KJ Wright moving forward is definitely a play. I was a little worried with Jordan Brooks and Bruce Irvin there. Both of them were injured. KJ Wright and Bobby Wagner, again, good last year, good this year for the rest of the year, the way I believe it. A name that I like to see back on our big stat list and something that I had in my top 5 this week and he finished number 7, I believe, is Jordan Hicks. 8 solos, 4 assists, 3.5 tackles for loss. He's more been a drop back guy. They lost the game, which honestly was really surprising to me. I really thought they would beat Carolina at Carolina, but Jordan Hicks finally, honestly, had a good game. He could have easily won the fantasy MVP last year. So I know that he was on our list. Whitney Merciless is the biggest surprise for me. Somebody who we haven't really talked about. He only had 2 solos, 2 assists, but he had 2 tackles for loss and 2 sacks. He had 3 quarterback hits. That's kind of what we saw last year when J.J. Watt wasn't playing. And J.J. Watt didn't really do anything, but you watched it. J.J. Watt was double teamed almost the entire game. So Whitney Merciless had a really good game, and beating Minnesota losing in Minnesota 23-31 end up causing Bill O'Brien's job. Somebody saw Adam Schefter retweet somebody. Imagine someone whispering in Bill O'Brien's ear last year in January that when they won that game, maybe I forgot who they were playing, Kansas City or somebody. It would be his last win in the NFL, because that's hilarious. Let's go with Mr. Consistency right here. Levante David has got to be the most consistent linebacker overall this year, besides Eric Kendricks, who is right there. Levante David, 10 solos, an assist, a tackle for loss, and a pass deflection. How big do you think I know he's looking for a big contract, and I think they'll re-sign him, but I don't think it's going to be massive because of his age. That's the one thing that we have to look forward, long term with him. So how do you feel about that?
Well, I got to agree. Plus, they've got Devin White there. I mean, That's going to be the guy for the future.
Yep, and he's had a great season so far. So that's somebody that we have to look at. Devin White's going to be.
If he's if he's wanting a whole bunch of money, they can always bring in some young stud. Let him go.
I mean, we're seeing that all over the league. You watch Corey Littleton get moved, which honestly looks like the Raiders made the right move because he hasn't had a great year.
Right.
Then you got, heck, you watch the Browns just get rid of everybody, which honestly, they've filled the roles, but I would much rather have Joe Schobert there than who they've had. Malcolm Smith has stepped in, B.J. Goodson stepped in, but they need a premier, middle linebacker, and they don't have her. They've been riveted with injuries. Jacob's been hurt. Obviously, all their guys have been injured. They've had 3 linebackers go down. So they, considering the 3-1, and it's the Browns, let's give them props for that. Let's give us somebody who stepped up that honestly eyes didn't see it, and it's just a small stat line here. Alex Singleton, he had 2 solos, but he had a pass deflection, an interception, and I believe a touchdown. Yeah, so that's a big one. It looks like we might have our guest show up today. So without further ado, let's bring Mark in. Good morning, Mark. This is Jared, IDP 411, with our co-host, the Dynasty Chef, bringing in Mark, the CEO from www.statementofgames.com. How you doing, Mark?
Hey, how's it going? Thanks for having me. Hope everyone's doing all right.
We're good. So let's just give us a quick rundown about, what you're about and what the website's about.
Yeah, sure. So basically what we've actually done as a company at statementgames.com, and there's also apps that complement the website as well, just in case somebody wants to check it out and they're more of an app person. You can actually find this within Google Play or the Apple App Store. But what we do is I've kind of taken a family-originated concept. The whole Statement Games concept is something that I've been playing with in my family for the past 25 years. And really to kind of make it short and sweet here, I'm just a game. Statement Games is a game. What we've done is we've created a completely different new take on fantasy sports. So what we do as a company is we create individual games around specific sporting events. So, for example, this Thursday night here, you got the Bears and the Bucks playing on Thursday night, kind of like football. So what I actually do is I present the people who want to play our game with a list of props, or hence the company name, statements that are specific to that Thursday night football game. The Bears over or under 19.5 points. Brady over or under 265 kind of yards passing here. The Bears defense over or under 2.5 sacks for the game here. The statements are broken down into various different categories between, general game statements, the quarterback position, the running back position, wide receiver, of course, special teams, as well as defense here. You want to actually go through the list of props, and as you analyze them, you want to make 10 picks. And as you make your 10 picks, you're going to rank them in order of confidence from 10 through 1. So as that sporting event plays out, if your number 10 pick becomes correct, you get 10 points. If 9 through 1 are incorrect, well, now you just have a total of 10 points. You're going to play in a league of anywhere between 8 to 12 people, and the person with the most points from correct picks at the end of that specific sporting event wins. This is a 100% free-to-play game. The people who want to check this out and give it a try here, you're competing for what we call Statement Games coins or platform credits. It's your job to build up your account balance with as many of these, coins or credits as you possibly can. And when you're ready, you want to exchange them for a cash gift card of your choice. We have a whole reward system. It's powered by about, I'd say, 85 different merchants, anything from Under Armour, Nike, NFL Shop, Starbucks, Dunkin' Donuts, Target, Macy's. Name a retailer, Amazon. Odds are that's probably not going to win there here. So eventually you just want to play a different form of fantasy sports, compete for coins, and when you're ready, exchange them for kind of a cash gift card of your choice. So hopefully that gives you a little bit better of an understanding of who we are and what we're doing within the DFS space.
Yeah, I really like that. Just the idea of, hey, it's free to play. You're not, it's not, a lot of states you have restrictions on being able to play DFS. And in this aspect, you're playing for free and you can win, free gift cards. And that's pretty amazing. That's definitely a fun way to play and a different avenue. What kind of made you, I know you said you talked kind of this way with your family, but what made you come up with the idea?
Yeah, sure. So full disclosure, I'm from Long Island, New York. My dad is a huge sports fan.
We got that with the accent.
Hey, nobody's perfect,
Hey, I'm from the South. I get that twang. So.
But basically, growing up in the Salino household, my dad taught my younger brother and I a couple of things and a couple of things only. We rooted for the New York Giants, the New York Yankees, the New York Rangers, the New York Knicks, and that was it. And me and my younger brother, we literally took it to a completely different new level, a completely different extreme. And I guess that upbringing, it kind of backfired on my dad a little bit, because every single year I used to take a trip up to the Boston area. I had an aunt and uncle who lived in the Boston area, and that's where we just went for Thanksgiving, right? So on Thanksgiving Day, my dad, he doesn't want to, help out with chores or shop or do anything like that. He wants to sit down and watch football pretty much all day. Well, my brother and I, we want nothing to do with it. We don't care. In fact, we're going back at my dad saying, hey, Dad, it's not the Giants. Why do we care about a Lions game or a Cowboys game later on in the afternoon here? We'd rather be outside throwing the football around or jumping in like a pile of leaves or whatever it was that day. So kind of in an effort to get me and my brother interested in other things besides the Giants, the Knicks, the Rangers, he created this game, and we've been playing it specifically on Thanksgiving Day for the past 25 years. We do this on other, special events, throughout the past 25 years as well. And the process kind of entailed my dad taking out a piece of paper, pulling my brother and I into a corner of a room, and he did this with all the family members or whoever was, gathered around us on that day of that sporting event. And he'd start asking you a list of over-under questions. I remember the first time we played, the Lions actually played the Bears on Thanksgiving Day. He'd ask you questions like, all right, Barry Sanders, over-under 100 yards rushing. Herman Moore, over-under 7.5 receptions. The Bears defense, over-under 2.5 sacks. I remember actually Jim Harbaugh was the quarterback of the Bears that day. Jim Harbaugh, over under 250 yards passing. Every single family member, and on Thanksgiving Day, there's probably, 13, 14 of us. We throw in a buck. Now, at the age of 12 or 13 years old, I'm locked into this Lions game like it was the Super Bowl because I had a chance to, win $13 or $14. And as the game would play out here, he'd start kind of like, checking, things off as statements became correct or incorrect. My aunt used to call this the football bingo game. So I've kind of like, worked in a variety of different areas of advertising and marketing. I've always had Dad's concept in the back of my mind. So I just said to heck with it. In 2016, I left the corporate space to pursue Statement Games full time, and here I am.
That's a pretty amazing story, man. I love stuff that comes from family. Obviously, like that's the biggest thing with me is I've always talked sports with everybody, and everybody's, me being in the military for so long, and I just retired in June.
That's awesome.
My biggest
thing.
Thank
you so much for your service.
Thank you. I appreciate it. For the last year, I got this really big bug about doing, my own podcast. So I started, me and Steve and Jordan got together, it's kind of really growing on us. We appreciate all the subscribers, 400 subscribers in the last couple months. And we really appreciate that. Can't say enough about it. And then Steve basically reels us all in, make sure that we don't mess up and get all crazy on here. So we appreciate it more than I could tell you. But overall, man, I really appreciate you coming on and, getting us your insight, and we can't wait to get everybody playing on Statement of Games. So
yeah, just one more. I can't stress that up here that this is a family-oriented game here. I'm not asking for social security numbers, the funding of kind of like, account. If you want to check this out now, I'm going to say something. It kind of recently just backfired on me because I was on another podcast on Friday. And on that podcast, I was pretty much like doing the same spiel that I was doing kind of with you guys. And I challenged like that audience, and where it was a baseball podcast, and where anybody who was willing to play the game, if they specifically played the New York Yankees versus Tampa Bay Rays, baseball game on Statement Games, if they happened to go 10 for 10 with their picks, I was actually personally going to cut them a check for $250 and send it to them. As it turns out, and this is something that really happens, last night, not only did one person go 10 for 10, there was 3 people that went 10 for 10 here. So I'm now kind of like, personally in the whole $750. But hey, you know what? It's my own fault, and it's all kind of like, in good fun. And hopefully I gave people some good experiences. But you know what? I'm going to double up. I'm going to make you guys kind of like the same offer. For anybody who is following you, you have to be following you guys. This is not something that I promote on the Statement Games Network. You have to be following you guys and listening to your show. Anybody who is willing to try that Thursday night game, which is the Buccaneers and the Bears, completely free to play. If you jump in and you go 10 for 10 with your picks, I'm personally going to cut you a check for $250 and send it to you. As long as
you heard it here.
Give it a shot. Maybe give me some feedback on what you like and what you don't like here. I am a startup here, but I really value comments and kind of feedback. This is how I kind of get better. So hopefully that sweetens the pot a little bit here, and you guys as well as your audience could have a little bit of fun with the upcoming Thursday night game, and we can kind of go from there. But that's kind of like the requirement. You got to be following you. Maybe you drop you guys kind of a comment that you're playing this thing over here. This is not something that I kind of push out to, my network, which is accessible, again, statementgames.com. There's also apps, and then at Statement Games on any major social media platform, whether it be Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all that other, fun stuff. So
you know what? I'll sweeten the deal. If if they are following us and they're part of that and they go 10 for 10, I'll send them a shirt.
There you go. So, all right. So we got a shirt.
Free shirt.
And we got some cash on the line. And, of course, if you don't go 10 for 10, whatever coins that you actually win, of course, you can exchange that for a cash reward at any point in time. So hopefully you guys now have enough of an incentive to check this out and have a little bit of fun with it.
It'll be fun. We appreciate you coming on, Mark. And
thanks a lot, guys.
Can't wait to talk to you longer. So,
all right, man.
Thanks
appreciate
again.
it.
We'll see you
Take
later.
Care now. All right, bye.
Thank you again. Again, that was Mark from statementofgames.com. We appreciate him coming on, and obviously gave you some incentives, $250 if you go 10 for 10, and I'll send you a IDP Army IDP 411 shirt. So pretty nice.
went 10 for 10 or 10 for 10 on the baseball game.
I mean, there you go. You see it happening. I mean, and I would say baseball is kind of tough, man, to be honest with you. Like, as much as I've been, just a sports follower in general, to go 10 for 10 in the baseball game. And then I guess he said, well, on Friday, and then you got yesterday, he said he went 10 for, someone went 10 for, 3 people went 10 for 10. That's crazy. So you go 10 for 10 on statementofgames.com, $250 check that he will cut for you. Obviously, you got coins you can collect, so gift cards on top of that, and IDP Army, IDP 411 shirt to follow with you.
Mm-hmm. Excellent.
So, pretty appreciate that. All right, let's get right to DBs. We actually had somebody comment, B Stud went with Julian Love. I'm complaining about Julian Love. I missed your show. Just pull this up for me, Steve. I wasn't able to ask your opinion. I would have only lost by 20 instead of 30. So Jordan actually was on the Julian Love train. I know that I wasn't. I haven't been. I've listened to what they've been going through. Like, oh, Julian Love's the guy because Xavier McKinney got hurt. So I know B Stud played him and gave him a 0. So there's that. There was much more complimentary players. Obviously, I picked up Whitehead from off waivers because I had Tremaine Edmonds or Terrell Edmonds on Pittsburgh Steelers out. So I picked up Whitehead, played him. Third week in a row, scored 20 points. So let's go right to DBs. The top DB has obviously didn't play this week, so we don't know what Hilton's going to do from here. But Pierre Desir on Thursday night, cornerbacks just have been crazy, dude. It's been the biggest cornerback year, which kind of goes with the year, though. Most touchdown passes, most yards by passing so far this season through the first 3 games stat that I saw. And then Pierre Desir goes with 7 solos, an assist, 2 pass defenses, and 2 interceptions and a touchdown. That's ridiculous.
Balling out.
I mean, that's a crazy game. What's the IDP 1, 2, 3 scoring in that?
Oh, he had 42.5 points.
42.5. So he was second behind our guy. And that's a crazy stat, dude. 2 pass, 2 interceptions, and a touchdown. Big Davis, big on him. Michael Davis also went really big game. 4 solos, 2 assists, had a pass defended, an interception, and also a touchdown, which was the pick 6 against Tom Brady. Tyrann Mathieu, another big game last night. Somebody wouldn't be able to talk to. 4 solos, pass defended, an interception for a touchdown. He should have had 2 interceptions. They caught a pass interference against him when he ran into their wide receiver and then just out-jumped him. So in that aspect, Tyrann Mathieu really could have had a big game, which we've been talking about whether he was a play or not at all because he just hasn't had a great at all. He finished top 3. So there's that. That's what, 2020. Most consistent cornerback play, hands down this year, besides Hilton, has got to be Marlon Humphrey. Marlon Humphrey, 8 solos, an assist, a pass defended, and a forced fumble. That dude's just real, man. He's just as good as they come.
Yep, I agree. He's the real deal, man.
That, like we've said, they have one of the best defensive backfields in football. Him and Marcus Peters across from each other is kind of crazy. Both of them have interceptions, forced fumbles. I mean, all they do is cause havoc. So it's really tough to play somebody against them in any aspect. Terry McLaurin actually had a great game considering, which did not see that coming. I'm probably going to mess this up. Cravion LeBlanc from Philadelphia, 4 solos, 2 assists, a tackle for loss, a sack, a quarterback hit, and a forced fumble. Philadelphia's bound to have somebody play, right? So if you're going to win the ball game, so there you go.
say don't play cornerbacks, but this year you might have to stream cornerbacks.
Yeah, man, it's crazy. It's just, I mean, of the top 12, I think 6 or 7 of them are cornerbacks. Terrence Mitchell had another good game. 11 solos, a tackle, or an assist going against Dallas. Now, if I'm playing Dallas, I'm playing a cornerback. It's just the facts. Like, you kind of have to do it at this point. Dallas is going to throw the ball 500 times because right now all they do is trail in football games. And so, in that aspect, you got to do it. And that's a big one. We can go one of my favorite names, Raven Green, free safety from Green Bay, 5 solos, 3 assists, 1 tackle for loss, 1 sack, 1 quarterback hit. Kind of just really came on yesterday, and you saw Savage get hurt. Raven Green just had a great game. We're talking about guys that we've talked about, a group of guys in every aspect of the game on Monday that we just wouldn't have got to talk about. And I'm glad that we actually waited to today and was able to bring Mark on. Let me give another shout out to Josh Norman on his first game back. 3 solos, an assist, a tackle for loss, a forced fumble, and a fumble recovery in his first game back. It was a big thing for them because they ended up winning 30-23 against Las Vegas, and it was a monumental turnover for them. So beginning of the year, we're talking about how Von Bell was, it's Von Bell. And they're just not using Von Bell. The person to own, hands down, at Cincinnati is Jesse Bates. 6 solos, 4 assists, a tackle for loss, 4 pass defend. Or sorry, that's Fenton. 2 pass defended. Dude, he's just big.
Scored 24 points.
24 points. Jesse Bates has been a 20-point guy almost every week this week, which is crazy. Rashawn Fenton last night had a big game. 3 solos, a tackle for loss, and 4 pass defended, as well as an interception early in the game. Kind of crazy. Rodney McLeod finally showed up. We've been waiting for him to show up for a while. 7 solos, an assist, a pass defended, an interception. Good to see his name on sale. I mean, San Francisco, to be honest with you, until they get Jimmy Garoppolo, I'm going to stream somebody against them. So it's just it's the thing.
Trevon Diggs.
Gotta love Trevon Diggs. Had a pretty good week.
He's been having pretty good weeks.
Yeah, he's been pretty solid every week. But is it because it just seems like he's getting burnt, so they have to throw his side? I mean, he's got burnt a few times. You called the forced fumble last 2 weeks ago, not this week.
Yeah, it was 2 weeks against Seattle,
but he got roasted on that play, and then just ends up getting a forced fumble because our guy just decides to wait. Patrick Peterson, 5 solos, an assist, pass defended. I believe he had an interception too. Yep. So this could win that game.
Mm-hmm.
Like you said, Trevon Diggs, 4 solos, 4 assists. I think he had a tackle for loss. Yeah, 1 tackle for loss. So Tre'Davious White, they keep picking on him for some reason. Still got 6 solos though. So 1 pass defended, 6 solos, 2 assists. Overall, really fun week. Got to give Jordan Whitehead a call out because he probably won me the game this week. 4 solos, a tackle for loss, a sack, and the quarterback hit. So that was really big for me. Probably gave me the victory in a league where I ended up winning by 9 points. And Aaron Jones really, after the first drive last night, Aaron Jones was kind of a ghost until the end of the game, which was scary to me.
So, what were your duds this week?
Well, I mean, let's just go with guys on, and some Bradbury, I guess, as much as people were talking about him, if he doesn't have the fumble recovery, he's a dud. Because he was probably the number one asked about person of the day. He had 3 solos, an assist, and a fumble recovery. If he doesn't have the fumble recovery, he just has a hee-haw day. You know what I mean? Nothing big, because he was the number one asked about player probably. I would say, wouldn't you say, Sunday, that had to be
on there quite a bit. Look at the day Brian Burns had.
Yeah, I mean, Brian Burns again, a dud. Alden Smith was a dud, but we talked about it. Like, it was kind of a really bad matchup. Brian Burns didn't have a bad matchup when you talk about Kyler Murray's been sacked quite a few times this year already.
Right.
So
it was
very lackluster.
It was the other guy that we talked about earlier that got to the ball or got to Kyler.
Yeah, Yuta Gross-Matos. Yep.
Yeah, Gross-Matos that got to.
Yep, it was majority him. Linebackers wise, Devin White, huge letdown. 1 solo, 3 assists. He had a fumble recovery, which I guess in that aspect saved his day. Matt Milano, we're kind of blowing him up. He had 6 total tackles. He did have the pass defended, which helps him. But Demario Davis, big letdown, who's been carrying most people. He had 4 solos, 1 assist, and a tackle for loss. The tackle for loss, I guess, kind of gives him a better stat line in general. Don't love it at all. Micah Kaiser, 5 solos, and assists. That's it. Shaq Thompson, after a monster week the week before, Shaq Thompson had 3 solos, 2 assists, 2 tackles for loss, which the 2 tackles for loss, again, save him. Didn't really do anything besides that.
Montez Sweat.
Montez Sweat had, without a doubt, one of the biggest letdowns. Jalen Smith, another big letdown. Jalen Smith had 5 assists and 2 solos against, which is even funnier. They ran over 240 yards against Dallas. So how do you not get any of those tackles? Huge letdown, Jalen Smith.
Jerome Baker, another letdown. He's been up and down.
After his first week, Jerome Baker really came down to earth, and
he did, and then he had
didn't really do anything. He had a good week the third week, and then right back down.
Been really
really up and down, and honestly, a really good matchup. Well, overall, I would say that's not a good matchup. The linebackers have not scored really well against the Seahawks because he's not throwing it down the middle, and they should lock it down. He didn't do anything.
Robert Quinn letting us down again.
Somebody that we've seen in the big stat line who really hasn't done much, Tyrus Bowser. Tyrus Bowser didn't do. He had 1 solo, 1 assist, 1 tackle for loss, and I think a quarterback hit. So,
JPP.
Yeah, JPP. Like we said yesterday, I didn't really like the matchup when somebody asked about on Sunday if they should play him. I said, well, I don't like this matchup at all for them. And he was the odd man out for me in that group. I didn't have him in my top 20. So, can you pull up Eric Kendricks real quick? Talk about somebody who's been really consistent. I'm trying to find, Tremaine Edmonds. We talked about who should be the play, Tremaine Edmonds or Matt Milano. I said, well, Tremaine Edmonds 100%. He's my play because he's the athlete. Matt Milano is the tackle machine, has been the tackle machine. Tremaine Edmonds had a great game. 8 solos, 4 assists, and a half tackle for loss. Not a crazy amount of points, but just 8 solos.
He still scored like 12 points, but I mean,
he had 3-6 with 3 solos and 3 assists. So, and I think he had a pass defended, like we said before. Neville Hewitt, Zach Cunningham. That's another one. He had a lot of solos. He had 7 solos and 3 assists. but he didn't do any big plays. So that was the biggest things with, when you're depending on Zach Cunningham as your top dog, who's number 2 in tackles with Blake Martinez. Number 1 right now is Eric Kendricks. So that's the number one reason I was trying to pull up Eric Kendricks real quick. I just don't see him.
What are you looking for?
I'm trying to find Eric Kendricks' stat line from this week. I don't even know if he was.
I know he had 12 tackles.
Eric Kendrick had 12 tackles. I'm going to have to pull that up. He's got, right now he's leading the league in tackles. Anthony Barr being out is massive for him. He's a must play every week in general, obviously, unless he's on a bye week. But so he had 7 solos and 5 assists for 12 tackles and a pass defended. He's one of the top pass defended linebackers the last 3 years. So that's what has really been surprising to me this year. He's only had 2. So, but he's been a tackle machine, averaging, he had 7, 11, 5, and 7 solos, 4, 1, 5, 5 in assists the last 4 games. Got some pretty good matchups coming up. So we're talking about a guy who's been a 100 tackle guy every year that he's been in his career. 70 solos, with 40 assists, with on average 4 to 5 tackles for loss. He's already right there this year. His quarterback hits 2-3, but his pass deflection is what make him sexy. And he has 2 this year. He had 12 last year. So if he continues on the pace, he's on the pace to still get, to get around 12. So that's a big deal.
Oh, yeah. We like guys to do those extra things.
Yep.
Pass deflections, forced fumbles, QB hits, tackles for loss, all that good stuff.
Yep, that's what makes them sexy for sure. Albert Alexander said he has Blake and Cunningham. Should I scoop at Edmonds from Buffalo? Yes. If Edmonds is on your waiver wire, 100%, you need to grab Tremaine Edmonds. He's one of those guys is going to go off every week. And honestly, if I'm talking long term, I'm probably keeping Tremaine Edmonds. Matt Milano is, again, a tackle machine. He reminds me a lot of Blake Martinez. But the athlete is Tremaine Edmonds. So when he goes off and he has a good week and he has a good matchup like he did last week, you got to play him. They're going to drop him a little more in coverage sometimes, which is why you like Milano, because they might rush him a little more. But if Tremaine Edmonds is healthy, he's a play every week. I can't sit him. So, okay, well, that's pretty much it for us. This is the IDP 411 with Jared Gray and my co-host, the Dynasty Chef Steve. So make sure you follow us and follow www.statementofgames.com for the Thursday night game. Again, if you go a 10 for 10 this week, make sure you let us know on here. I mean, you have to follow us. And you have to go 10 for 10. We'll send you a shirt if you go 10 for 10, and you'll get a $250 check sent to you. So I love you. Love that you like this channel. We are the most consistent IDP channel on YouTube, as well as our podcast on. You can find us anywhere from Anchor, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, the IDP 411. We appreciate all you guys. Again, follow Jordan. Defense Matters. He's with us on Sundays as well. So, but until next week, let's go. We'll see you.